Hello. This is working. I'm gonna check something real quick. Hello. Greetings from Thailand. Oh. Yeah. I think I'm on. Hello. Lobster Bird here. I feel crazy today. I feel really crazy. I'm supposed to tag Tonya. Okay, I just tagged you. No, I don't know how to get out of this. Okay, here I am. Sorry for all that messing around. Hello. Welcome from Thailand. I am like on fire and like feeling super ass crazy. Because what I'm about to say, I'm sure is going to probably like irritate a lot of people and probably dredge up a lot of stuff. And actually, I'm just like tired of being scared of that. That's like kind of my job in life. My job, if I was like to approach PR and media, hi Donna, I would say I'm a purification expert. And so that's a crazy thing to be, as a purification expert, but I am. It has to do with being born like right on the new moon or something. I don't know. The point is that there's some crazy, creepy stuff going on, and I feel like it's taken over my psyche. It's like I've woken up in the middle of the night thinking about this whole thing that's happening, and then I go on the internet and it's everywhere, and I'm in a lot of like spiritual communities, so everyone is talking about this thing, and I'm just not gonna whitewash it and sugarcoat it. Last week, Doreen Virtue, who, if you don't know who she is like the creator of angel card, like tarot decks, and she's been like helping people connect with their angels for lots of years. She's a Hay House author, was, until something happened. I'm not even really sure. I haven't, as much as this has been like permeating my psyche, I have not done that much research, but I actually am doing what Doreen said, which is like connecting to the highest source available to me about what I think is going on here. And anyway, apparently she found Jesus last year, and then she created this post a week ago, and it was like A to Z list of new age practices you should avoid, and it's created a whole scandal. And I'm not going to give you the link because I promised someone that I wouldn't share it. So I'm honoring that. Pinky swear. I'm not going to share the link, but you can Google it, because we have the power of the internet. So you're empowered to Google it for yourself and look up this crazy ass list of the new age practices which you are meant to avoid. All right, here's where I understand like my opinion is not going to be very popular, and it's not even an opinion. It's my perspective based on my own personal understanding, truth of actual reality, is that in a sense, none of this matters. In a sense, like there's two things that are going on here. One is that it's incredibly important because it's bringing up a lot of stuff in people that needs to be cleared. And two, what matters really, what's at the heart of it, and what I actually think is what is at the heart of Doreen Virtue is saying, is that you need to establish your own connection with God. Now, do I think that she's taken it to an extreme? Yes. Do I think she's being extremist? Absolutely yes. But here's what I realized from my own personal process that I've been going through with it, is that some of the things on the list in particular really like triggered me. Like my first response when I read it was, unicorns? Like, what did unicorns ever do to anyone? Why are unicorns evil? Why should they be avoided? And so then there was a couple other ones that really like triggered me too, like Reiki, because I practice energy healing. I think energy healing and Reiki, I don't know if it's E or R on the list, but anyway, energy healing, like that's my whole jam. So yeah, I'm not in agreement with that. Mindfulness, I don't see how being mindful is not helpful. I just can't Like, I can't even begin to conceptualize that. And so I went through the ones because also, like, here's the thing. Her whole reason for making this list is because she's saying that by doing these practices or engaging with these new agey things, we're opening ourselves up to dark energies and entities which are like coming through these things. And so here's the thing, is that I think at the very crux of what she's saying, there is some like tiny little bells of truth twinkling in the distance that I can hear, because once I got past all of my own noise about like being like, blah, unicorns, blah, mindfulness, blah. I was like coming up with all of these arguments for each one. Like for Reiki, like the whole reason it was founded was because Dr. Asui like wanted to understand, like he actually was a studier of all different theologies, including the Christian religion, and wanted to understand true healing. And like Jesus in the Bible did like laid hands on healing. So if she's all about the Bible, I was making little arguments for each one of these things. And then I realized that that was my own distraction about what's really happening here. That was like where actually like what she's saying, I believe that there's some nugget of truth in this, that what it brought up was like the energies in me that weren't quite pure, that were like, no, she can't say those things about XYZ. And I'm exposing this, like I'm like, this is why I actually don't want to have this don't want to do this live and don't want to have this conversation, because I feel like I'm telling you that like sometimes I have entities. And you know what, it's like not a popular thing to like want to go and admit, but here's the thing, is that I think that we all are susceptible to these dark energies. And this is like the huge, I've tried to articulate this in a bunch of different ways. There's a bunch of different lives that I've done as of recently. The first one started in Bali, where I asked everyone, like, is it interesting for us to talk about the shadow side of spirituality? And I got a bunch of people that said yes, and I was like, okay, then maybe I'll start to talk about this, because there's a lot of sneaky, tricky traps along the way, which actually, like, dark energies can get in there and mess things up. And then, like, and when I was in Bali, then the last few ones I did about, especially why I'm not leading pilgrimage anymore, those ones, I started to talk about what I experienced over the course of the past year and how it really opened my eyes to a different level of reality that I was unwilling to see before. And the fact is that there are light energies and there are dark energies, and the dark energies not only are attracted to the light, and so if you are a light worker or if you are a spiritual person, if you're engaging in any of these practices, you're a lot more appealing for these dark energies to try to get in there and take you out, basically, because that's like their job, that's like their goal and intention. And they're conscious energies, they're actually conscious. And so I watched this one video of this guy, I don't even remember his name, but someone posted it in one of the spiritual groups, and I think there was a lot of truth in what he was saying, and then there was some like real untruth in what he was saying, which is like, he was basically like, that's bullshit. And I'm sorry, but I would have said that about a year ago. I would have said, like, she's being batshit crazy. There's only love and light. Like, if we're just into the love and light, these energies can't get to us. And there's nothing wrong with these practices. In fact, they've helped a bunch of people. And here are all my arguments why. That's what I would have said a year ago. And today, I can honestly say that there is some truth in what she's saying. And I have witnessed through these practices people that I really respect, who have been doing this work for a very long time. I have witnessed them doing these practices and then getting overtaken by these energies in a way that is like undeniable. And like by calling it bullshit and saying like, you're not possessed, just like do your inner work, that's actually like spiritually bypassing it and saying like that it doesn't exist and holding a blind eye to it, which again, as I said, I can no longer do anymore. And so I felt it was really important to come in and just throw this additional perspective into the mix, because I feel like people are really quick to be condemning Ms. Doreen for her choice to, like, she has this whole, I don't even know how long, decades? I only learned about her last year, so I didn't even know who she was. Her one book, I think it was like How to Talk to Angels or something, when I was opening up my intuition and really starting to be guided, that was really helpful for me at that time. And that was really all I know about her. But apparently she's profoundly impacted the lives of a lot of people. And now she's saying, like, I don't agree with that anymore. And so, okay, here I don't even know, like, when I came on for this live, I was like, I don't even know what I'm going to say. But I think that there's three phenomena that are happening when people are tuning into this. So I actually think it would be great. I don't even know who's on here. If you're on here, say hi. I feel like I'm talking into this weird void, and you can, and let me know. You can say this is interesting. You can say I agree with this. Like, you can even post, I would love for you to comment like what your take is on the whole Doreen Virtue thing. And before I tell you the three phenomena that I think are happening, hello Cindy, I love you. You are a being of lots of light and love, and I would love your take, because I feel like you may have been inspired by Doreen at some point. I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong. Before I talk about the three things, I want to talk about how actually what this signals to me is that we are moving into a different time. Oh. Hi, Erica. Oh, knows nothing about this. Great. I think this conversation, even if you don't know anything about it, and I might encourage you, if you don't know anything about it, not to Google it. I don't know. Or maybe that's me bypassing it. But in some of my spiritual groups, I've noticed some people who didn't know about it before and now know about it, and then felt totally like confused and disenfranchised. But not the topic. Yeah, it created a lot of confusion. So this is really like why I wanted to come on here, and has helped to like clear some of the stuff that's been coming up. And so maybe if you just stay with me for a little while, then you can cut it. You'll know what it is and clear it, and not even have to like Google it. But yeah, basically she just condemned like everything that people love. And so I want to talk to you about what I think she's really doing. And then I want to give you the three phenomena that I think are happening that might be helpful for you to identify whether or not this is happening for you. And then if it's not like 80 hours later, like I could just do an energy clearing on this, because I think a lot of people are like freaked out, and it's actually bringing up a lot of trauma. Okay, so this is my plan. So here's what I think is happening is actually there's this huge shift in consciousness that is happening, and it's in process, but over the next 3 months is going to be really intense. So I subscribe to this amazing astrology report. You have to subscribe to it. It's Lorna Bhavan, and it's Hair in the Moon Astrology. She's amazing, and she just did this report for February 2019, and it's totally maverick. That's what February is about. It's about the maverick. And she talks a lot about this shift that's going to happen because of the three main major planetary events. I hope I get this right. But the first one is in February. It's Chiron moving into Aries, which I think only happens like every 50 years. And so it's a big time of all of these wounds like that actually are like coming into healing in a new way. It's moving from like this watery realm of Pisces into Aries. The second one is what? Oh, Uranus coming into Taurus, which I think only happens every 84 years. These things are coinciding a lot with what was happening in the 60s and late 60s, which, as we know, is a time of great revolution. And so what she's hinting to is that this is actually going to be a huge new, like, epochal shift for us as humans, much like we went from agriculture to industrialization. Like, this is, we're going for another shift that's like that big. And the third thing that's happening is Saturn in conjunction, I think it's in conjunction with Pluto. And that's also like even more rare, and basically, yeah, we're like grounding in all this transformation. This is over the next 3 months. Hi, Morgan. So I wanted to talk about these shifts because what she highlights in her report, and I'm talking about this because I think that everyone should subscribe to her report or get like one of her detailed readings about where this is in your own chart. But all of these shifts are happening, and what they're pointing to are shifts from 3D consciousness, which she says 3D New Age consciousness. And I think she might have posted this report before Doreen made her crazy ass post about the New Age practices to avoid. We're moving from what she calls a 3D shift / New Age consciousness into 5D. And so what that really means, subscribe to the Hair in the Moon Astrology's report, and you can find out more fully in detail. But I'm going to say from my own perspective what I feel like that means. And so there has been a ton of focus on the external, about like the materialization in this world, consumerism. I think like what happened in the 60s was so great and profound, and I've always felt like a little misguided. Like I don't know, I've just always felt that way. I've in part felt like I was from that era, and also, you know, that we had to go through that to like really have a revolution where we could realize like our power, that we're able to affect change, and then go through this other like whole kind of like darker, confusing period where we really come into the understanding that each one of us individually affects change. And so Doreen, what I think she's doing is she is changing. One, I think that that has to be okay. I think because we're all made of energy, and energy is constantly changing and shifting forms, and so we're constantly changing and shifting forms. I'm getting into the three phenomena that are happening though. So let me go back to the major thing, which is that there's this huge shift in consciousness that's going on right now, and it's shifting really still. Like what some of these new age practices have done is really put our power in other things. There's this like whole guru effect that's happened. Like I think actually I've talked about Hay House before, and how there's a lot of like creepy stuff going on there. And part of it is this whole guru worship thing, right, where people like start listening to someone that sounds really profound and really spiritual, and then it's like they get addicted to that and they never achieve their own liberation. This is like one of the biggest things that I've seen come out of this. And so you can look at that list and you can look at all the different things and see how, if we put our faith in these other things, then we're really actually denying our own direct connection with the divine, which I have some arguments with her over what that means, because I do think it's in the Bible that God is, you know, Jesus says, you can find me in any rock, you can find me in a piece of wood. He says it in a bunch of different ways. I think that everything is divine, which is not what she thinks, and I think that's fine, because here's the major shift, is that we're going into understanding that no one perspective is right and wrong. It's like a multi-dimensional perspective shift into every single perspective is important in the greater pattern of our evolution. And so even Doreen making this great shift in her thinking is a part of that pattern. And here's the thing, there are many people right now, many leaders who are totally polarizing, and like people who do not agree, and one of them in particular happens to be like sitting in a big chair in our country, in the United States. And you know, say what you will, think what you will, believe what you will. I think that it's all amazing, and I think all those perceptions are all part of this multi-dimensional shift that's happening, where all of our perceptions are equally as important. And if you are a spiritual person and you disagree with this, and you're like, no, we should condemn that person for their opinions or behaviors or actions, well, you're just doing the same thing. Like, you're basically doing like, you know, a witch trial on that person. And I would say that the greater shift in consciousness is that we can look at it, we can look at how it's impacting our being, and then if we don't agree with it, we can release it with lots of love and many blessings instead of condemnation. And I think that that is the shift that we're moving into. But I see a lot of people reacting and being really upset. And so this is why I want to go through the three phenomena that's happening, because, and clear them, if I may, because in order to move into this shift, we have to let go of like our attachments to this like polarizing, condemning thing that's going on here. So I think this is why it's gonna, you know, be really unpopular, because people love their crystals, and people, you know, like love their Reiki, and they love unicorns, aliens, like all the things on her list. And you're allowed to love them. That's the thing. You're allowed to love them and have your own perceptions, and you have to know what's really right for you and in your best interest. But here's what I will say, and this is where I think that there's some little sprinkle of truth in there, is that some of these things are distracting. Like now, on further contemplation about the unicorns, which like when I was in my whole righteous thing, I was like, unicorns are in the Bible. So how is she condemning unicorns? But she's talking about like the sparkly, glittery version, which could be a distraction. And distractions are one of the main ways that these darker energies and these entities actually get in. If we are distracted and we're not connected to the light, we're not connected to our divinity and to source and to like the truth of all things, we are distracted, right? And so, you know, like it's like shiny object syndrome. If you're an entrepreneur, is like deadly. It can mean like the destruction of your business, literally. If you invest in things that are not of your highest alignment, they can send you down to the path of bankruptcy and despair. And so too can, like, if you're all focused on unicorns, for example, and you don't take the time to, you know, connect with source energy and with the truth of all things, then yeah, like unicorns also could be a distraction. So this is where my contemplations take me. And I'll tell you that it took me feeling righteous for a little bit about some of the things on the list and then into meditating a ton on them and doing a lot of energy clearing on them for myself and for the things that were triggering me, where I discovered what I feel like are the 3 phenomenon that are coming up for people that I would like to clear. If you're here with me, please, and you haven't said hi, please say hi. And I would like for you all to vote and weigh in over who has taken over the internet more. Marie Kondo and decluttering and tidying up, or Doreen Virtue and demons, entities, and angels. I'm just kind of curious. Is there a way to create a poll on here? Can someone create a poll in the comments over which amazing being has managed to take over the internet? KonMari or angel cards? Ooh, Cindy, I like what you got going on. I feel like the lesson I have taken from it is I honor her right to choose and support the change in her beliefs. I personally had a similar shift from the organized religion to my own beliefs in connection with source. These new age pieces are tools to enhance my connection with the light, but my light is mine to shine with or without the tools. Yeah. Hi to Yoshi Ringmaster. You're here too. Cindy, I love it. That is the main message to share. It's that one, you know, what I really feel that if you're not reading the list, being triggered, right, by your own stuff, then I really read it as she's really genuinely trying to be helpful. She's really, like, with a lot of love saying, like, I have this realization and I'm changing and I want to share with you what I've had to go through, which probably is a lot of pain. If she's talking about this darkness, something happened to her that's really painful, and which had her realize that, like, nothing trumps her connection to source, which is God, which she talks about, like, how it's actually, like, not correct to call God anything other than God. It's like another evil thing, but I don't agree with that either, because there's a whole other one of these I have to do about what happened to me at the hot springs in Thailand with the guy that gave me the book that answered all my questions to life. I'll do that one later. But basically, I do believe that she's right. There is a revolution coming. Like, there is a point where we're really going to have to decide who and what it is that we align with. And that moment might be here. I think this is a catalyst for that. Oh, I lost that one train of thought, and then I'll go to the 3 things. Is that just like our POTUS, who I was like thinking like is really big and bold, and I was thinking like he could also be called the hippopotamus, which I don't know if, like, some people would be like, you should never say anything bad about the president, but I kind of think it's funny because he's like big, he's a big personality, he says really polarizing things that a lot of people don't like, and then a lot of things that, like, on a bunch of other people really do like. And no matter what he does or thinks or believes aside, and my perception of what he thinks or does or believes, I can really appreciate him for this one reason, is that him coming into the presidency woke a lot of people the hell up. A lot of spiritual people who had been complacent and spiritually bypassing everything with their love and light, and then we're like, how could this happen? And then he brings up a lot of issues that really are having people think a lot more deeply into what we believe and the choices that we make. And so for that reason alone, I think it was, who was it? I think it was Raw Goddess. I saw her speak once, and she was calling him the Great Awakener. And I love that. And so I think that Thank you, Cindy. Hey, Michelle. Hippopotamus. I see it. There's an emoji for that. The hippopotamus and Doreen Virtue, I think, are really awake. They're like being the catalyst for this new awakening, which, as I was talking about, is this shift from 3D to New Age to 5D, which is total, sovereign, empowered beingness that is your own personal connection to Source, God, Spirit, Buddha, like whatever it is. I don't agree with her that it's only God and you have to study the Bible. I don't believe that, and that's fine. You know, I'm okay if she does, if that's her path, basically, and I'm totally okay with that. But so anyway, here's why it's happening, is that this is so we can be having this conversation, but I don't think it's so that we can be having a conversation so we can create more of the stuff that keeps us stuck. I believe we're having this conversation so we can liberate ourselves. So in that, I think there's 3 things that came up. Not even sure what they are. Okay. The first one that came up for me, is yes. I think that the list is triggering, right? So I do actually encourage you to Google it and then like make a star next to each one of the things that you feel really righteous about, or that you feel are really not evil, or that you feel are like right and good 100%. Like if there's any of those things, like put a little star next to it. And what I did is I went in and I contemplated deeply. I've been meditating a lot lately because I feel like there's a lot of craziness going on, and in order to stay clear, I need to like get back to my own practice that I believe in, works for me, which is Buddhist meditation. So I've been meditating a lot, and then in Buddhist meditation there's contemplation. So you take a thing and you sit in meditation and you really contemplate it. And so I'd really encourage you all to contemplate each of the ones you're being triggered. Yay, I love you, Morgan. Liberation is critical. And the only way we can get liberated is to get out of that mode where we get triggered and feel defensive and then want to condemn, right? Or dismiss, one or the other. The phenomenon of the same aspect, right? So for you, for your own liberation, is to go down the list and really see which ones are like really, and maybe it's all of them. You might be like really into New Age spiritual practices. And if you are, contemplate each one, right? And how, like, I would contemplate, like, how is there some truth in what she is saying about this? How could this particular tool or practice actually be a distraction, actually open up? Like, for one, like shamanic practices, like that's one where, as a lot of people know, I practice them, and I have witnessed people get straight up taken over by like demonic forces while they're doing it, and they didn't want to, right? And so and again, these are people that like are really advanced, and it happened. So like, you know, when I read that like that, I was like, well, I can't deny that happens, and it doesn't happen to every person, right? And there's definitely steps you can take so that it doesn't happen to you. If you really feel like the shamanic path is yours, then I encourage you to follow that path and make sure that you're still addressing that this also is a potential that can happen, and making sure that you're clear and protected all along the way. Okay, so point number 1, phenomenon number 1, is that we're being triggered, right? So go through your own personal triggers, contemplate how there might be some truth in that, how there, you know, how you could open yourself up to a new perspective about that thing, even if it's not like, okay, there's some truth in that. Maybe just like really look at that thing. And for me, that's been really helpful. And also, you know, like as I looked at it, just identifying what things trigger me, like allows the trigger to kind of fall away. And then I felt like, oh, I don't feel like I have to defend this thing from Doreen anymore, you know? It's just, I felt like, but this, like, who am I arguing with? Nobody, except for like the own part of my ego, which had some attachment to that thing, or some, you know, like affection for that thing that was so strong that I would then like say like, you're wrong, or there's like untruth in this. Like, no, I can accept that there's like both of those truths exist. It's an amazing, wonderful thing, and it has the potential to invite in something else. Okay, so that's the first phenomenon that's happening. So if you're feeling triggered by that list, great, because like I said, I think that that is a catalyst for your own healing. It has been for mine over the past week. And also then into the collective, right? It's part of this bigger shift from 3D into 5D. That's point number 1. What's point number 2? Maybe that's just it. Maybe that's the only point there is. Wait, hold on, it's coming. Right. So, yeah, so then point number 2, I mean, I might have just said them all within point number 1. Oh, Cindy's saying Harry Potter is getting a bad rep. Right, so you're going to want to star Harry Potter, and say, like, all right, well, like, just let me, like, remove my deep love for this for a second, and is there any way that this might be, like, misleading? Like, for one, there was this whole thing that happened with kids where, like, they were watching superhero things, and then they thought they could actually, like, jump off buildings, and then were getting hurt. I forget what country this was in. It was, like, in Africa or something. Well, I watched this documentary on the plane about this. And anyway, they think they're capable of, like, so, okay, so, like, there could be some things that are misleading about that, right? Like, and Harry Potter has inspired, like, millions of humans, both young and old, right, to understand that they do have magical power, which is also true. Okay, so our triggers are being brought up. I think, oh, this is embarrassing. Look, I know that there are 3 things, 3 phenomena that are happening that Doreen is bringing up. Well, oh, great, I have it. Number 2 is that that was all just a clever ruse to give you time to process some of your own triggers. Number 2, this one's actually very serious. Number 2 is that actually it's brought up some serious trauma, right? So there may just be the reaction, like, we love Harry Potter, I don't think it's cool that she's slaying something that has, you know, is magical. Or like maybe that with unicorns, it might be light, it might be a trigger because there's something like that you like, and so it, you know, it offends you, and there's some kind of like attachment aversion thing, right, going on. Point 2 is much deeper, actually, which is maybe I tried to block it out of my psyche because yeah, what it's doing is it's bringing up some serious trauma, and this is what I've seen is that's happening, is that it's caused a lot of people to question actually some of the things that they've been doing or believing, right? Because, for example, if you were really on board with Doreen Virtue and gained a lot, you know, from that, and then all of a sudden she's saying that it's evil, it's bringing up a lot of the old trauma that people have from past lives, like of the witch hunts, or, you know, like of the Crusades or other like religious persecution that people have experienced. Oh, thank you, Morgan. Yes, the Won't You Be My Neighbor documentary. I also watched that on the plane, along with the one about the African superhero. That's why I got them messed up. And yeah, the kids jumping like superheroes, right? So that actually, that documentary is so good. So good. Okay, sorry. So back to point number 2 of what this whole Doreen Virtue thing, it's like a ruse. Like, and so we could go and we could attack her personally for being like, the catalyst, for being the messenger, right, for being the person that's bringing up this deep trauma. We could do that. Jen says no mermaids on our list, so I'm safe. That's true. I cried the whole Mr. Rogers documentary, and I told Jen actually that she has to watch it. You have to everyone please watch Won't You Be My Neighbor. Instead of obsessing over Doreen Virtue, who, though, that movie also could bring up some trauma, because it brings up the fact that a lot of us in this lifetime and in previous lifetimes have been persecuted for our connection with God, for the very thing that she is talking about and seems like she might be doing to people. I don't actually think that she's doing that. If you really read her words very carefully, she's saying, like, I'm not doing this to cause any shame or blame or fear. I'm doing this out of a love for you and sharing what I realized on my journey. And still, because we have this deep trauma embedded in our beings, it's bringing it up for people. And so I've seen people in spiritual communities which then were like questioning whether or not they're evil. Because the thing is like, if someone tells us something that we're doing is evil, our core belief that you can get it down to is like, well, I'm doing something that's evil because I'm evil. Right? Like, it's an easy conjecture to make. And so on a very deep level, people are... it's bringing up like that really deep trauma. And if you are someone that this trauma is being brought up in, I really like encourage you to address this. If you need help with that, you can email me, magic@lobsterbird.com, and we'll find a way. Or like go into other spiritual groups and communities that you're in and speak this. I've seen other people do it, and it's incredibly healing. We can't, like, that's the whole thing that has kept this phenomenon perpetuating, is that people have been silenced. Right? And that's why I also had to do this live, because I realized like I have some past lives, I have some trauma with that. And so instead of being like allowing other people to condemn this person who's kind of like a prophet, like, do we see the story repeated over and over again? Like, Jesus put on the cross, right? She's like bringing what is actually, I think, a really important message, which is something we need to be looking at in ourselves and in the collective. And no, Jen, do not be embarrassed. We're not causing more shame because you have not heard of this yet. If you haven't, you will. And like I'm saying, if you're tuning into this, like, just stay with me for another 2 minutes. And we're going to do a clearing, and so you might not even need to read the list at all. Or you can do what I'm saying, which is these 3 steps. So 1, identify your triggers. 2, identify any trauma that may be coming up and really get some help from your spiritual community, from healers that you may be working with who you really trust, who are really all about your own divine sovereignty, and not wanting to like keep you stuck in these patterns, which there's a lot of that too. And I think that subtly Doreen is addressing that on this list. Okay, so phenomenon number 3 that is coming up. Give me one, process those last 2, triggers and trauma. If you want to let me know in the comments if you had any triggers or trauma, sure, what? Triggers or traumas, you can take a moment to do that. Well, I call on phenomenon number 3 that's coming up. Oh, this is really interesting one. Phenomenon number 3 that's coming up is that because there is some truth in what she's saying, and because there are energies and entities that have gotten to us and are either in our systems or in our fields, as I admitted before, without shame or guilt or fear that you're all going to think I'm icky and run away, I too have had these energies and entities invade my being. This is why I can talk to you about this, because this past year was realizing actually how much it can happen, and all I've been doing ever since is clearing them for myself, for my business, for my heroes, my clients, for my family, for anyone that I'm in connection to. Like, basically that's all I do 24/7 besides serve the elephants, is clear all this. So I feel incredibly clear right now, which is why I felt compelled to come to speak to you about this, because my like secret entities aren't speaking to you right now. And you know, like I said, it happens to everyone. And so I want to like debunk any shame or any fear about this, because actually it is really simple to clear them. But the first thing we have to have is awareness, and then the second thing we have to do is get on board with someone who's really committed to helping us clear those, so that we're in our own clear sense of beingness and sovereignty. There's a lot of spiritual healers who don't and want to keep you stuck, and that's not okay. So it's about getting on board with something that you can trust, really on the deepest level, knowing that it has your connection with God, Source, Universe, Buddha, at the highest level, like in their desire. You know, hi.
You want some iced tea?
Okay. Thank you. I just got offered iced tea as a gift. So the last thing I want to say is that we cannot let this this list of New Age practices to become another facet of the same phenomenon, which is a distraction, right? So I tell you because it happened to me, is because I spent like all this time like thinking about it and like tortured over it. That's just more of those energies that are then like literally coming up. So it's kind of like she said. So this is why I think people are not going to want to be friends with some people whose entities have been dredged up by Doreen or perhaps by me on this video, might not want to be my friend anymore. And if that's true, you can unfriend me and I will totally understand. And I will send you off with so much love and so many blessings, as I know Doreen did on that list, and as I think we have to do for Doreen, because if we keep like holding on to this and like generating more negative energy about it, whether we're denying it, like I think by not sharing about it, or whether we're like condemning her for it, I think that's actually more of the shadow that's at play. And so I believe that she did not intend this, but I do believe that by putting that out there, it actually another layer of shadow and distraction has happened. People read the list, do the first two things I said, examine your own triggers and examine your own trauma and get to clearing those basically. And the third thing is then let it go. And let it go with lots of love and lots of blessings for her, for enabling, catalyzing this whole healing process, both for ourselves individually and collectively. Because the longer like we keep like having to like hash it out, the more we're distracted from being connected to God, which is exactly what she didn't want to happen, right? So let it go and reestablish your own divine, sovereign, amazing, necessary connection to God, divine, spirit, universe, source, Buddha, please call it whatever you want, and reestablish that connection and get back to that, because this can't be a distraction. Okay, so if anyone's still on here, I would love to do a clearing for everything that I just talked about. So if you just came on, hi, because I see some of you lovely beings, I would suggest going to the back to the beginning, listening to the whole thing, and then doing the clearing. But if you're on here, can you say yes if you would like a clearing on all of this? I think it's the best thing we could do ever. And if you, yay, Cindy says awesome. And if you don't want a clearing on this, end the video now. You have total sovereign free will. I really respect that. If what I'm doing is bringing up demons in you that you don't want to clear, that's fine. You can unfriend me. Great. Morgan's on, Cindy's on, Jen's on. So I have a quorum of 3, the divine trinity, and we'll do a clearing now. Like I said, if you're just coming on now, go back and listen to the whole thing, or else, I don't know, this might not make sense. Or if you're like, I just want a clearing, I'll clear anything, then you can just stay on. All right, so we'll do it. So go ahead. You can close your eyes. Sitting is great. I'm gonna lay down and just like relax. And tap into your breath. If you happen to be watching this, I'm just going to give you like this beautiful, peaceful view of Thailand so that you can really get into the zone. Really breathing deeply into all of your being. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you. I'm calling in the light of divine source and all of higher assistance to come in and assist us with this clearing and healing. Surrounding us with tons of protection, the highest level that's available to us right now. And while you're breathing, connect to source above, about 300 feet or higher, this source of love and light, which is your connection to your own understanding of God. And allowing that light, like a waterfall of liquid light, to come down through the crown of your head, through your connection, your personal connection, your personal, important, unique, multidimensional perspective and connection with God, and allowing that to come down and clear out anything that has tried to stop you from connecting. coming down through your third eye and through your eyeballs so that you may see the truth of everything, and through your ears so that you may hear the truth of everything that is true for you. And allowing this waterfall of liquid light to continue down through your throat so that you may know the truth of who it is that you are, which is truly a divine being in human form, a quantum being in human form, and clearing out the throat and the front of the back so that anything that may have ever stopped you from speaking your truth is uncreated and deleted across all time, dimension, space, and reality. This light is clearing that all through all your system. This waterfall of liquid light's going down your shoulders, your arms, your wrists, your hands, out your fingers. The waterfall of liquid light continues down through your heart, exploding, expanding your heart as this waterfall continues down through your solar plexus and down through all of your centers of strength and power and free will and creation of the kingdom of God that you would wish to see embodied here on this planet. The waterfall of liquid light's continuing down through the solar plexus and down through your belly and down through your sacral and your dantian, clearing out anything. Down through your root, which keeps you grounded in the reality and supported by this world to bring your divinity down into this 3D beingness, and allowing that light to continue down through your hips and your legs and all the way out through the bottom of your feet and down through your root and down through all of the layers of the earth, through the rocks and the dirt and the mud and all the layers of water and molten goodness until you get to the heart of Mother Earth, that other dimension which feels so luscious and loving and lovely, and so supportive, and that like all you are accepted unconditionally and loved unconditionally. And when you get down to that feeling, allow that to bounce back up right into your heart space. And from there, asking the light of Source to expand out around you in 360 degrees, out into the room that you're in, to the building, to the town, city, state, country, across all of the planet, all of the oceans and the lands, and out into the air and out into the earth. Asking this light to continue to expand as it goes into the atmosphere, into the cosmos, the universe, and all of the multiverse. And this energy, this light, and this love is blasting away anything from your being, anything from your field, and anything across all time, dimension, space, and reality, across all holographic fields, morphic fields, across all of your DNA, across all of your ancestry, anything that's been passed down, and anything that goes to any other lifetimes other than this one. Allowing it to clear out anything that would prevent you from your direct connection with God, with Source. Allowing this light to do it for you, knowing that by being in this expanded state, you are right now connected to your divine power. And from that power, setting the intention that anything that is not love and light be cleared from your body, from your life, from your space, from the collective, from the world, from all of infinity. You are that powerful. So allowing this light to clear away anything that is not that. And if there are any triggers that came up from you from Doreen's list, even if like you had some fear that mermaids might be on the list, bring the light down to clear away any of that fear, any embarrassment that you don't even know what this list is. any fear of potentially reading this list. If you have read the list already, clearing out any of the triggers or trauma that it brought up for you, allowing the light to do that for you. Going through each one, seeing, because you do know the truth of everything. That is the truth. You can feel how that feels light and true, right? Is that you actually do know the truth of anything. And so anything that's coming to you, any images, maybe some past life stuff, maybe there's some past life stuff that you've worked on with other people, like someone have told you about a past life, and it hasn't fully cleared yet, because sometimes, you know, there's a lot of psychics and stuff that like will tell you these things and then don't effectively clear it. So if there's anything that's coming up for you, it's probably coming up to be cleared by source. So just allowing it to come up and then asking the light, please clear this across all time, dimension, space, and reality. We're uncreating this from its original source, transmuting it and destoring it. Any stories that come along with that, anything that we've carried into this lifetime, in this moment, we are deleting them and uncreating them across all time, dimension, space, and reality. Yeah. You may be able to feel the energy shifting. If stuff's coming up for you, it might like feel heavy and it might feel hard, and just continue breathing and asking the light to clear it away. Or you might be feeling a lot lighter already, and allow yourself to enjoy that feeling. Because fact is that you are in co-creation with source at all times. But everything that's not that, uncreate and delete across all time, dimension, space, and reality. Because, you know, I think a lot of us now can see how there are very specific powers that come through individuals and come through systems and come through even just collective ways of thinking and being, that don't actually have your best interest in heart. They don't actually want you to be as all-powerful and sovereign as you are. And so if any of those have ever said anything to you, done anything to you, you know, if you've ever adopted any of those ways of thinking, allow this light to come through, uncreating, deleting, transmuting, and destroying that across all time, dimension, space, and reality. So that in this moment you can say, I know the truth of who I am. I know, right, that I am this infinite being of light. I am this all-powerful being that is also in connection with all these other all-powerful beings. And together we can actually create a whole new level of consciousness, a whole new greater society, a whole new transmission of truth, and everything that's not that, uncreate, delete, and destroy across all time, dimension, space, and reality. And thanking yourself for showing up today, thanking yourself for whatever process you've gone on in tuning in to Doreen, whether it's been in the past or whether you're just discovering her now because of this whole thing or whatnot or what have you, but also thanking yourself for showing up to this. And if you've gone through this whole clearing with me, then thanking yourself for actually listening through something that might may at some points have brought up stuff in you, and being willing to clear that for yourself, thanking yourself for that. And that just proves that you are this amazing, all-powerful, all-knowing being, that you can commit 100% to being a pure and clear energetic channel. And when that's true, then, like, this whole thing, I mean, it actually doesn't bother you anymore, because you have the knowingness that, like, we live in this multi-dimensional perspective reality, and so everything is welcome here, and everything is accepted, including your own unique perspective and contribution and beingness. And so you might want to put your hand on your heart if that feels good to you, and thanking yourself for your own unique expression and your own unique connection to what truly is meaningful to you, and to what truly is God to you, to what truly is divine to you. Honoring yourself for that. Everything else we are uncreating and deleting across all time, dimensions, space, and reality. Yeah. You're amazing. Thank you for being you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for having your own perspective, whatever it is. I so value it and appreciate it. Yeah, please go forth. Be clear. Allow this to be something that brings more healing and more love to our communities and to this world. I love you all so much, and thank you for being here. Let me know how you're feeling. Thank you, Morgan. Let me know how you're feeling in the comments below. Let me know if anything else gets brought up for you. I think it's incredibly important, you know, that we have these spaces where we can bring up these stuffs and bring them up to be cleared. You're welcome, Cindy. So much love. And so it's important too that if like we do a clearing and something happens and we're like, I feel dark, I feel heavy, I feel weird. Well, like, please tell me that too. You can email me magic@lobsterbird.com so we can clear it. But more than likely, you're probably feeling lighter and brighter because that's the truth of who you are. Yay, Yoshi, thank you. I love you. All right, I love you all so much. Let me know how you're doing, and have a beautiful, beautiful day free of all that is not serving your personal connection with God. I love you. Thank you.